every time that two people spar, every time that two people engage in combat, every time I watch two of the Tigers Gym members spar, I get to watch, I get to learn, and I get inspired to teach more about the importance of fundamentals when you're boxing. Now, this could be boxing for self-defense, it could be boxing for an amateur or professional competition, it could be using your boxing techniques just at a regular light contact and a friendly sparring match. But there's so much of depth involved in every little detail. And I'm talking about details of your stance to begin with. How do you stand? What is the right posture? If everything that you do when you actually engage in throwing hands, in making contact with your opponent, if everything is based on that initial stance, how important is it to establish the right stance? Now, the answer is that there's not one particular stance that you can adopt, because number one, the opponent is always changing. Number two, you could be sparring the same opponent multiple times. And the thing with human beings is that every time we watch, we get used to certain things and we learn. So your opponent is also evolving and getting better and more dangerous every time you spar with the opponent. So how important is it to adopt a primary stance, a stance that's solid, effective, a stance that makes your opponent feel intimidated, a stance that makes you dangerous, a stance that can be good for your footwork? Because every time you adopt a good stance, you need to have that stance to be compatible with your footwork. So if I don't have a good stance that's going to allow me to move, if I don't have a stance that's going to allow me to duck, dodge, and slip, then the entry level of my boxing has just failed me. So, one of the most important things for you to focus on in your fundamentals of boxing is your stance. What I would like to do is, when I take my stance, I want to make sure that I am not necessarily heavy on the front foot, because if I'm heavy on the front foot, I'm not going to be able to lead fast enough with my jab. At the same time, I don't want to be light on the front foot and more heavy on the back foot, because although it's effective for me to kick off of the back foot when I throw my jab, or kick off of the back foot when I throw my right, it's not going to give me enough of fluidity to throw my jab. So this is what I would say. Number one is I would not say that my stance is 50-50, like the way it is in martial arts or karate, taekwondo. It's not 50-50. I would say my stance, if I break it down technically, my stance is more focused on, I would say, a 70-30. I'm trying to be as detailed and specific as I can. My stance needs to be, for me, when I'm sparring, I need to be 70-30. I need to be 70% body weight on my back foot and 30% on my front foot. Now what this is going to do is this is going to help me when I move. Now I'm light enough to bounce off of that front foot, but I'm also heavy enough to generate that power from the back foot. So watch this. Here's my stance. From this stance, I can kick off of my back foot. I'm able to push off of the back foot to lead with my jab. So my jab is actually founded on my back foot. One of the principles when I'm teaching is I talk off of generating power from the ground, from under your feet, and transferring it onto your front hand, your lead jab. So here's what I have. I have me generating power from that back foot to throw my jab. I'm not using all of my front foot to throw my jab, because if I use all of my front foot to throw my jab, I'm gonna risk getting hit in the face because my head is gonna go too close to my opponent. If I put all my body weight on the front foot, I'm gonna compromise my defense because my head is gonna go close to my opponent for my opponent to jab back. But if I'm 70-30, now all I need to do is have my chin down while I'm moving. I kick off of the back foot, kick off of my back leg, and that's where I'm generating that power and speed. We need a balance of power and speed to have an effective jab. So here's what my stance is doing. My stance right now is 70-30. I have enough of power that can be generated from that back leg to pop this jab. Mush, 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 mush. Both to jab to the body. Mush, mush. I'm generating the power from the back foot. Mush, mush. To jab the head. Mush, 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 mush. To do double jabs. Mush, mush. To do triple jabs. Mush, mush, mush. To go up and down. Mush, mush. To go down and up. Mush, mush. All the effectiveness of my jab has stemmed from my stance. And my stance is established on how I distribute my body weight, in this case 70-30, so that I can use enough of power generated from the back foot to throw it towards my jab. And this is what I call the entry level of boxing. Now, the entry level of boxing sparring has many different levels. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this series. How to establish an effective entry level to your sparring. How to initiate the sparring match. How to initiate your fight, but to be safe. How not to risk getting caught early on in the fight. These are all the fundamentals that we're going to talk about in this series. So, recap for today. The distribution of your body weight, the balance that's established when you throw your jab, how to generate power from the back foot onto your jab. We haven't even spoken of technique of how to throw the jab. We're just talking about your balance and your stance, and how to use your balance and your stance and a proper distribution of your body weight to transfer that towards an effective jab. And what we'll cover in the next video of this series is how to make your jab in itself more effective, and things to do with your body mechanics to establish that effectiveness of your jab, and how to ensure that your defense at your entry level is still effective enough. Watch out for more awesome training tips from Tiger's Gym.